seeing here is an armoured infantry assault. That was a Warrior armoured fighting vehicle, and another in the dust. Assaulting a tree line. Now this is the sort of operation we've seen so many of in Ukraine. Two sets of troops inside those armoured infantry fighting vehicles advancing on what would be an enemy position. Soldiers dismounting out of the back, protected at the moment, disguised by a cloud of dust, and moving into that tree line, running into that tree line and fighting through. We've seen operations like this unfold in Ukraine. We've seen them unfold from drones. Both sides using these sorts of tactics to clear each other from tree lines, from infantry positions, from trenches and from bunkers. And of course, everything that's happening here in Poland as part of exercise Steadfast Defender has that added sense of urgency, that added immediacy, because what's happening here is happening for real in the neighbouring country just across the border in Ukraine.
Well, we're in Poland as part of NATO's exercise Steadfast Defender, which is a pretty significant NATO exercise. 90,000 troops from all the three different services over a number of months this year, all taking part in various exercises, of which immediate response, which is where we are today, is but one. The immediate response is taking place on Drawa River training area in northwest Poland, and we're being sort of fantastically accommodated and looked after by both Poles and Americans. So on the training area, the largest sort of block of troops is under my command, and they're from the 12th Armoured Brigade Combat Team, which is part of the 3rd UK Division, based in Bulford. The purpose of the exercise really is stretches much more widely than what you're seeing here today on Drawa River. What we've been trying to do over the last 4 or 5 months is really test our ability to generate a force, i.e. pull all of the constituent parts together, get them fit for a warfighting operation, transport that force overseas by various means, road, rail and sea and air, and take that force to a place where you then build it back together, integrate it with allies, Poles and Americans in this instance, on Drawa, and then test it to make sure it works. So the bit of the exercise you've seen today really is part of that testing process to make sure that the thing functions as designed. So we test everything from the equipment, making sure that it all works, the communication systems, so that we can all talk to each other and operate at a distance from each other. We test the skills and drills of our immaculate soldiers to make sure that they are ready for this kind of warfighting role that the brigade has. We test our ability to integrate and work alongside allies and partners, which is a really important part of this exercise. And we bring that all together in a tactical way to make sure that it works as designed, as intended, within our NATO doctrine. So it's a predictable force that can act in a certain way. And stepping back from that, it's really making sure that whole process, from start to finish works. Force projection, integration, and then making sure that it is where it needs to be.
this is the culmination of this part of the exercise, a river crossing using a combination of these barges to ferry British Challenger 2 tanks. These tanks weigh a minimum of about 64 tons. These barges, there's 4 of them lashed together to create a ferry that can carry up to 2 tanks at a time. Exercises like these have been seen in Ukraine that have gone desperately wrong. Russian soldiers run across bridges have been absolutely hammered. That's part of the reason why these sorts of drills are so important, as they come, as they do, and exercise Steadfast Defender, this massive NATO war game, the largest NATO war game since the end of the Cold War, with some 90,000 troops, 16,000 British forces, American, Poles and allies from across the 32-nation alliance taking part, dusting off their skills, not just for the sort of counter-insurgency, counter-terrorism fights that they've been waging for most of the past 2 decades, but to prepare for large-scale warfighting.
I love these little whiz